Good evening. Today is August 22nd, 2023. The time is now 5:31 p.m. This meeting of Georgetown County Council is being called to order. We welcome you all here to this meeting. We'll ask Councilor Carolina to lead us to give us the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Heavenly Father, we come together this day asking for guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Continue to allow us to grow closer as a group in nurturing the bonds of our communities. Strengthen and bless this country and this great experiment known as democracy as we experience challenging times. As we recognize Constitution Week, let us continue to emphasize each citizen's responsibilities for protecting and defending our Constitution, which is the basis for this country's great heritage and foundation. Continue to remind us that all we do as stewards over the land is for the greater glory of you in service to humanity and progress in Georgetown County. Continued peace and blessings to all in our county, state, and country. In your mighty name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Carolina. Please note for the record that we do have a quorum at this particular meeting. We move down to the approval of our agenda. Please note on our agenda that we'll be combining items 9A with the recovery proclamation with item 4B. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilor Newton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Carolina. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda is approved. We're going down to our special reports and presentations. This week's nonprofit featured is Community Christmas Dinner. Mr. Bill Gaskins will make the presentations for Community Christmas Dinner. Good evening, Mr. Gaskins.
Thank you, Chairman Moran and council members. So this evening, I'd like to highlight the Community Christmas Dinner that was founded in 1989, right after Hurricane Hugo. Janice Saliano here is the organizer of this event. This will be our 35th year for this event. If you go to the next slide, please. We are a 501c3. We served over 14,000 meals last Christmas, on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Over 5,000 meals were served in Georgetown County. We have over 300 plus volunteers. We have some of our volunteers in this room. Councilman Newton and Mr. Ray Bunny is with us. And there are probably some others in the room with us as well. We serve Georgetown, Horry, Williamsburg, and Berkeley counties. We also go into Tabor City, North Carolina. Our sites all for pickup or delivery. We will have one site this year at St. John's Greek Orthodox Church. We'll be serving a hot meal on Christmas Day. The next slide, please. You see an image of what we'll be cooking this year. Half of chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, corn, and desserts. The next slide, please. In Georgetown County, we have our sites include Trinity Global Methodist Church in Andrews, Nazareth AME Church on Choppy Road, Open Bible Tabernacle Church on Powell Road, Plantersville Elementary School, the Village Group, Center Baptist Church in Follow Grove, and Blaine United Methodist Church. Out of our Andrews sites, we serve into Berkeley County. We Changed Lives Ministries in Moncks Corner, who they go out and serve Cross and St. Stephen in those areas. In Williamsburg County, Hightower Outreach Ministries, Mount Seal UMC, St. Paul UMC, and Oak Grove Missionary Baptist Church. The next slide. In Horry County, St. John's, the Baptist Greek Orthodox Church. I'd like to just point out there, that is where Majority of our meals are prepared there before we distribute it to our different sites. They have a huge industrial kitchen there. Also, Harvest Church in Green Sea, Fair Bluff Baptist Church in Fair Bluff, Nichols Town Hall in Nichols, Crossway Church in Morris, and Mount Tabor Manor Cafe in Tabor City, North Carolina. Next slide. This year we'll be serving between December 23rd and the 25th. Please follow us on Facebook. There's my contact information if you'd like to have any more information. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Gaskins. Any comments from council or questions for Mr. Gaskins? Okay. We appreciate all the work that you do within those particular counties. Thank you all for your service. We're going down to Mr. Ackerman, Employee of the Quarter.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. Our employee of the quarter for this quarter is Ms. Tawana Nesbitt, who works down in our treasurer's office, and she was not able to attend tonight for various reasons. But we do want to still recognize her in front of the full body. Ms. Nesbitt started off with the county in 2019 in a part-time capacity, was very rapidly promoted to a full-time person serving as our field revenue officer, working under, at that time, our delinquent tax clerk. And due to a series of events, the delinquent tax clerk had to leave very rapidly without being able to train her replacement, which ultimately was Tawanda, which left her in the situation of basically having to learn the job all on her own. And for those of you who aren't familiar, the delinquent tax clerk is one of the most specific, item-specific duties in the county. Everything has so many legal strings, and I's have to be dotted and T's have to be crossed, and so many things have to be perfect for the process to run smoothly and not get kicked back by the court once it goes. So there's a huge learning curve, and Tawana actually took it upon herself, not having anybody to train her. She is basically self-taught. She reached out to other clerks at different counties, got their input, read, researched, did what she needs to do, and she has every time she enters a transaction, she hits a home run. I was in a room with her, if y'all recall, unprecedented is a word that's thrown around a lot, but it was truly unprecedented in 2020 where we did not have a delinquent tax sale. It's the first time that ever happened. And so in 2021, we were able to have a sale, and then you had to have 2 years, and nobody knew what to do, and there was no guidance coming from the state. And we got a room full of attorneys together trying to figure out what to do, and Tawana walked in and said, well, I think we should do this and this and this and this and this, and a room full of attorneys got silent. That never happens. And they all looked at each other and said, well, that's a whole lot better plan than what we had. Why don't you go with what you got? So she is absolutely stellar at what she does. She works fantastically with all of the folks who have issues paying their taxes, tries to get them up to speed, tries to get them to figure out a way to pay their taxes without them having to go to delinquent tax sale, and even follows up after the tax sale to make sure that they don't lose their property. She works very closely with the Forfeit Land Commission, with all the judges, attorneys, and different things. She's just a fantastic asset to Georgetown County, and for all those reasons and many more, we'd like to recognize her as employee. So.
Thank you. Let me give her a round of applause, all those she's not here. Thank you, Mr. Ackerman. We move down to Georgetown County Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Golden Palmetto Award. Mr. Akers.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of council. Pulling double duty tonight. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Just going to give you a little brief overview before I introduce a couple of people. The DDSN's Golden Palmetto Award is given annually to one county that provides exceptional support to citizens with disabilities and special needs by putting this population first through various programs, resources, and opportunities. Georgetown County has exemplified this standard through various efforts, including the Parks and Recreation Department's Take a Kid Fishing Day and other programs. The department is a strong supporter of the local Hugs for Horses therapeutic riding program, which serves those with disabilities. Georgetown County employs those with disabilities, invites DDSN and related groups to speak at county council meetings, and provides other platforms to spread the word about disability services. GCBDSN credits the county in part with exposure that helped it raise more than $35,000 on Palmetto Giving Day. That's just a brief overview. I believe we have Ms. Elizabeth Krause, the Executive Director of the Georgetown County Board of Disabilities and Special Needs, to give you a little bit more information. Ms. Krause?
Thank you so much. That was a really great opportunity to join in and talk about our relationship with the county. I'm going to date myself. I've been here since 1985, and back then our building, my board members here, they're all old friends and some ex-staff. Susie, who's now a board member, they're appointed by the governor, and so we're a special purpose district that has its purpose and mission to serve people with disabilities. The county was instrumental back in the 80s just helping us find land to move to, because we were in the old magistrate's office when there was leaks in the ceiling, non-handicap facilities. So the county was very helpful back then, and even to the point where we are today, which is at 701, just past Walmart. So we have a nice facility, but most importantly this year, I think that the Parks and Recreation Department deserves so much credit for some of their activities that they have developed and developed over the years to include people with disabilities. But their employment of one of our adult persons with disabilities for the last 7 years is a stellar example of our partnership. And he loves his job, and I know he doesn't want anybody else to tell him how to do his job. We're very proud of Tim. So thank you all very much. And we gave this award at last month's meeting, Wild Dunes. Heard a lot of good things about many county governments, but I did see that Georgetown County won several awards. And the nonprofit spotlight that you do was a big mention. That I think that's an important piece, that this community learns about other nonprofits and how important they are to this community. So thank you all for what you do for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll move down to Georgetown County Alcohol and Drug Abuse Commission, get a report from the agency. Right now, we'll have the presentation and introduction of Proclamation number 23-22 by Mr. Akers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back again. We do have Proclamation number 23-22 here for your consideration this evening. Once again, we do have a group of people here to make a presentation. If you'd like me to read the entire proclamation, I'm happy to, but I do believe they have a presentation they'd like to give.
No, I think with the presentation from Alcohol and Drug Abuse would be appropriate, really.
All right. So I'd like to call Mr. Raphael Carr and members of the Alcohol and Drug Abuse Commission Board. Mr. Carr is the Executive Director, and he's going to make some comments on behalf of the agency.
Hello, Councilman, Mr. Chairman. I'm Mark Barber. I'm not Raphael Carr, but I'm the chairman of the board at the Alcohol and Drug Commission, and I just wanted to introduce my board to you before Mr. Carr speaks. I have Pat Francher. She's on our board of directors. Connie Koperitz and Ethel Bellamy. And I just wanted to thank you all for giving us this opportunity to speak, and for these applications that you gave us, one last month and one this month for recovery and overdose awareness month. They really mean a lot to us. And now, let Mr. Carr tell you a little bit about what we do and what we do.
Thank you, council members. I appreciate the time to address you all. From my understanding, you should have hopefully a PowerPoint that we put together with some information on it. And what's contained in that is just a number of slides. First of all, so you know, we're a local commission, and we have a staff of 14 people that did work for what we produced for FY23. One of our biggest accomplishments of FY23 is we received our 3-year accreditation for CARF, which is Commission for Alcohol, or Commission for the Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities. And so we performed well enough for the standards to get a 3-year accreditation. And we are a nonprofit organization, but our board is appointed by you all, and we are, I guess we serve under the oversight of DEODAS, which is the Department of Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse Services, and a good bit of our federal funding comes through that vehicle. And I've got you some slides that actually show the income that we get and the various sources of that income. You've got a slide on page 6 that shows you how we use the majority of that. And in that, I would just highlight 84% of the funds that we get in go towards either our staff employment costs or client care. And it's just the other 16% that goes into our other operational needs. Another slide that I want to bring your attention to is slide 8. In slide 8, and I think that's just a personification of addiction. And so for substances like tobacco or alcohol, you know, it's lengthening, it's drawn out, the deterioration. But when we start looking at some of the harder drugs and more dangerous substances, what we can see is the deterioration is expedited for those individuals. And so that's the lingering problem that we're continuing to face, is more dangerous and harder drugs. But we're going to continue to work and do the service. I've got a little bit of a treatment information on page 9 or slide 9. And that just gives you some of the demographics of who we've served over this past fiscal year, which is July 1 of 2022 through June 30th of 2023. What we had also, the next slide entails that we had 407 intakes, and those are the people who actually showed up. I mean, we've also helped more people who just called in for information, but we had 407 people that showed up at our doors, and then I've got a slide that shows what service those 407 people accessed while they were with us and decided to come into services. Also, when it comes to intervention and prevention, I've got you a few highlights on there. You know, you can see how many boxes of Narcan that we've distributed into the community, as well as the fentanyl test strip. So we've been active at doing that over this past year and in the previous year as well. And then we've got one prevention staff that's kind of really having to work over 5 strategies and has to target tobacco, alcohol, marijuana, opioids, and then other substances. And so I just shared 3 of the most far-reaching highlights from the work that our prevention specialist does, which is, I think, you know, they do an outstanding job. Lastly, as a board and as the director, what we're looking at is we're looking at a comprehensive strategic plan. And so for that, I included 4 of the objectives that we're going to be looking at including. And so that's on slide 12 of what I provided to you that we're putting together. And then lastly, I leave you with, this is the 50th year of the 301 system, which is South Carolina Act 301, that kind of created the need to develop localized substance abuse organizations. And so earlier in the spring, we actually had the State House recognize us. And so you've got a picture of that, of what they did there. And what we're planning, we're wrapping up plans for us to do a little local celebration for our stakeholders towards the end of September. And we would love to have you all there as well when we pull that off. So that is our organization in a nutshell. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for continuing to have us into your budgets every year. And thank you for allowing us to serve the people of Georgetown County. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I before Mr. Carr leaves, I just wanted to say that they invited me to come to their facility last week, and I was there, and I was very impressed with not only the folks in his group, but the way he manages the whole situation. I asked, I ask a lot of questions. He had all the answers. So my hat's off to you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Any other comments from council?
Yes, job well done, Mr. Carr, and for the board and the continuous work you're doing for this county. And again, with everything that we're up against, our people are our assets, and all of the good things that you do and that we could become a part of it to enforce and support you, we're here. Thank you.
Mr. Carr, from the, you're located right here in Georgetown.
Yes,
I've visited your facility before.
I remember.
And with the outlying areas, do we still have a problem with getting transportation for people that are being treated back to the facility and from home to the facility?
Yes, so we're able to provide some assistance for that, but that does not eliminate the issue. So it is still an issue. It needs to be more convenient. We need more, but we have more than what we used to have when it comes to helping people get to and from. And we're actually looking to increase our peer outreach. And so hopefully with our peers, if we can get them out in the community more, then people won't necessarily have to get in to get some of their needed services, and we'd be able to get out there.
I take it your success rate is based on them continuing treatment throughout a long period of time, and without getting them there to the site, I would imagine the failure rate increases drastically. Is that the case?
There's a number of points to measure at. So the point of, when they get engaged in treatment to completing treatment, they usually go through their goals well. But once they leave kind of I guess you could say the continuous support that they're getting from our staff, that's when we start seeing relapse or failure rates. So, and it's kind of part of the cycle. So the longer we take it out, 6 months, 12 months, we then start seeing relapse. And so if you mark failure at that point, do they remain in recovery or do they remain sober kind of, consistently? Then the failure rate looks a lot higher. But when you talk about just when they came in, did they reach most of their goals without using, the rate there is much higher.
Do we, in your budget, is there enough money budget for transportation, for transporting the patients? Or do we rely on volunteerism to accomplish that?
We have some funds, but it's from additional sources, such as like we get HOP money from DHHS, Health and Human Services, and so we'll use that money to get the vouchers to arrange the transportation.
Well, one other question: Do you have any connection, or do you work with the county jail with the inmates that are incarcerated there?
We haven't been since I've been involved. I know that they did before, and there has been some initial conversations about restarting or trying to fit ourselves back in there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Carr, real quick, thank you for what you do. I was just curious, the Narcan and the fentanyl strips, are those donated or do you guys have to purchase those?
The DAODIS has a pot of funds that we utilize to provide that.
Okay.
So we have a certain amount, and so if we exhaust that amount, then we would have to come up with some additional funds to purchase it. But it is purchased, but we have a buyer force.
Have you ever run into an issue where you've had to purchase extra?
Not yet, sir.
Okay.
Because we're also not the only provider, because we also have local DHEC providing. I think they changed their name to Access Recovery, I think now. They also provide. And I think there's 2 other that also provide Narcan.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Again, thank you for all you do for our county and our communities. You provide a valuable service with the intervention of everything that's occurring now with the drug craze that's going on. You've been a valuable source to intervene in those particular aspects. We really appreciate the services that you do. And thanks for being a a part of the community and in partnership with Georgetown County. We thank you for that.
Could I make one other comment, please? We're short 2 board members. We have been for a little while. And I would like to plead with you if we could get those seats filled as soon as possible so we can carry on our business, because we're getting ready to start some new things. And I hate for new people to come in and have to play catch up. You know, it'd be nice if we had them. We have
Thank
2
you.
vacant seats. I think it's Mr. Newman and Everett Carolina. Yeah. those
Okay.
2 seats.
Thank you. We will look into those matters. We will check with our collector council and check into those matters to make sure those seats are filled. Thank you. Okay, is there a motion to adopt proclamation number 23-22?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor, yeah, second by Councilor Elliott. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if we could just grab you for a photo real quick.
Okay, we'll move on down to our public comments. A public comment period is included on each meeting agenda and shall be limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. No speaker may yield his or her allotted time to another speaker. Members of the public who wish to address council during the public input period should sign up with the clerk of council before the meeting is called to order. Please note that on the screen, there will be a countdown, so when your time is up, we ask that you conclude your comments. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone sign up for public comments this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have 7 speakers.
7?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they will each have 3 minutes each.
Okay, each speaker will have 7 minutes, and the first speaker is,
3 minutes.
sorry, my apologies, 3 minutes. And the first one is Miss Marla Hamby.
For those of you that seem to have forgotten, let me remind you that the American system of government is based on consent and participation of the public. Abe Lincoln said, "Government of the people, by the people, for the people." This is the very essence of the American system of government. People want to be heard, civic groups want to be heard, taxpayers want to be heard. Do you even care what the public wants? What we want on the Waccamaw Neck is no more high density. We have one county council member that listens to what his voters say and elected him to do. All the others seem to care more about developers and landowners that don't even live here. I am sick and tired of hearing about private property owners' rights. They do not have the right to harm their neighbors. They do not have the right to harm the adjacent communities. They certainly should not have the right to harm and gentrify our historic minority communities. The state requires a comprehensive plan every 10 years. Once the plan has been voted on and approved by the county council, you are required to implement and follow what that plan says. I don't know how that part got overlooked for so many years. They change the maps, but never change the zoning to match the maps. The words required, shall, and must don't sound like a suggestion you don't have to follow. They sound more like an order that has been ignored for years. It appears to me that the majority of the public, to me and the majority of the public in our county government doesn't care what the public thinks. You can humor me just a minute and pretend that you see the 12,000 residents that are standing behind me that think just like I do. Just this past week, the Sun News reported that Horry County Council is considering a moratorium on building until infrastructure and service needs can be in place. Traffic, school overcrowding, emergency services, and all the blah, blah, blah things were cited. Carolina Forest is the fastest growing area of Horry County, and it is in the process of trying to become a city so that they can self-govern and not be governed by Horry County Council. Apparently, their county council is not listening to them either. Maybe the Waccamaw Neck should look into doing that. Please approve the original natural resource element the Planning Commission submitted, not the watered-down version. Pre-ordinance, I'll be quiet till next month.
Paul Kenny.
Mr. Chairman, council members, hello. My name is Paul Kenny, and I'm here this evening to address the issue relating to the commercial use of public boat ramps. By way of introduction, I am the owner of a small part-time LLC called Low Country Eco Adventures that offers guided fishing trips, history, and ecology tours of our magnificent lower watershed. In recent years, I do only educational history tours with my partner, Lee Brockington. I carry up to 6 passengers at a time and operate from multiple public landings throughout the county. My LLC has been registered with the state since 2011, and I have a valid merchant mariner's captain's license for over 20 years. As of a month ago, my business is shut down due to the sudden enforcement of a 30-year-old county ordinance that states the following activity is prohibited: the loading or unloading of any cargo or passengers for hire or compensation. Knowing that this ordinance existed before I began my business, one might reasonably ask, why did I start it in the first place? Knowing that the only way that I could operate was by using a public ramp. So I made significant inquiries with other guides, and they all indicated that it was not enforced and others were not aware of the ordinance, so they were not worried about it. In addition, up until 2 months ago, there were official United States Coast Guard placards posted at the East Bay Park boat ramp with guidelines for the public if paying for a boat for hire. This is clear acknowledgement that commercial operations were taking place at the ramp. Other precedents for commercial use of boat ramps do exist. Hagley Landing, for example, was historically used for commercial purposes. Historical records indicate that Atlantic Coast Clubber used it to unload its employees for transport to the Pelican Inn. A commercial ferry from Georgetown carried residents to Hagley Landing for transport to Pawleys. It wasn't until Hagley began to be developed that issues over commercial use of the landing began to surface as a result of parking issues with the local residents. And that problem could have been actually rectified 20 years ago when the county was given the opportunity to buy the South Carolina Environmental Law Project to purchase a lot beside the landing without any cost to the county at all. Unfortunately, the county decided with the POA and parking for the ramp remains on the side of the road. The effect of enforcing this ordinance is devastating on many fronts. If enforced at face value, commercial fish operators, charter guides, tour operators, kayak outfitters, boat dealers, fishing competitions are out of business. The negative effect on tourism will be great. This ordinance needs to be amended and a stay put on enforcement until amended. From statements made by county officials in the local newspapers, there appears to be a consensus to fix this problem, and I urge you to do so as soon as possible. Public ramps, like bus stops, are like bus stops to highways. They are conduits to our navigable water.
Mr. Kenny,
Should be available.
your time has expired.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
Linda Karen Ketron.
Mr. Chairman and County Council members. My name is Linda Ketron. I've lived in North Litchfield for 35 years. I direct a program called CLASS, which is an acronym for Community Learning about Special Subjects. Over the past 30 years, we have provided natives, visitors, and transplants with information about the history and importance of various aspects of the Waccamaw-Neck region through workshops and courses, book events, and excursions. Our series of Imagine pontoon boat trips to Arcadia Plantation, Sandy Island, and the PD River, each carrying only 6 passengers, the captain, Paul Kenny, and the interpreter, Lee Brockington, have provided scores of people with a deeper understanding and appreciation of the historical and environmental treasures surrounding us. That, in turn, makes for better citizens. We ask that the ordinance be revised to take into consideration the size of operations and that the county develop an equitable permitting or fee structure that does not strangle small businesses, both those departing from and those arriving at public landings. Thank you.
Becky Ryan.
Good evening. My name is Becky Ryan. I'm the North Coast Office Director with the Coastal Conservation League. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. And thank you to staff for the excellent recommendations for amendments to the tree ordinance. We certainly appreciate that and see the amendments as proposed being in line with a lot of what the other municipalities and counties in the area are doing. Town of Pawleys, City of Conway, Horry County really would go a long way to protecting our trees. We do have an issue, even though we just amended the tree ordinance in 2021, we are seeing a lot of especially grand oak trees cut down on the Waccamaw Neck unlawfully without anybody seeking a permit because there's just that $500 fine. But this amendment would raise that to $500 per inch. So if you have a 20-inch grand oak tree, live oak, or 24-inch, you'd have a 20-inch would be a $10,000 fine. That would be much more of a deterrent. And as well, that 2-year hold on building permits. That is what Horry County has done. And that was specific to live oaks, but we would love to see that extended to the other protected trees, especially on the Waccamaw Neck. All of the trees do have benefit. They provide ecosystem services for people and for habitat. They take up water, they provide shade, they lower the temperature, they help clean the air. I could go on and on about the benefits of trees, all trees, even water oaks. They might look kind of scraggly and be hard to maintain, but their acorns are a top food source for our game species. So we want to make sure that we are protecting our native trees especially. They are much more likely to be or have longer longevity, provide better habitat. I'm totally fine with crepe myrtles and wax myrtles being left off the list for the Waccamaw Neck. That's fine. But we would we would love to also see bald cypress remaining protected on our rural areas. If you've ever been up to the Black River Cypress Preserve, the bald cypress there are gorgeous. And they really do provide a lot of those services, again, for water quality. The Black River is one of our state scenic rivers, and that is a large part due to those magnificent trees. So we want to make sure that we're protecting those. They also reduce flooding. They take up water. And so I think it would be important to maintain the existing protections that we have, even in our rural areas for those protected trees, and to adopt these amendments to expand protections on the Waccamaw Neck to, again, deter folks who are preparing their properties for sale without going through the proper process to get a permit for removing a tree. So thank you so much.
Alex B.
We went through the 2020 George Floyd situation, the COVID pandemic. People have been talking about white supremacy, structural racism, mass incarceration, where America jails 5 times more people than other countries, having alternate responders, such as mental health social workers. And I wonder if that's really gotten through here in Georgetown, because they said that this new jail originally was supposed to cost $36 million, and now it will cost, let's add it up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67. So we're here in 2023, 3 years later after 2020, and you guys are like, okay, I'm good with that. You know, the price has gone up, but our jail is so bad, even though it's only 30 years old. Let's go ahead with the largest project ever. Would you guys pay 70 million, 80, 100? What was the limit? A lot of people in this county would not pay $67 for a family dinner. And I see nothing is being put aside for reparations. We have the Harriet Tubman sculpture here that some of you went to see. Evanston, Illinois is one town that has given out over $1 million so far in reparations. They seem to be focusing on the elders, people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s who went to segregated schools, who were redlined, maybe never owned a home, or they need to make repairs. One of them was 87-year-old Lewis Weathers. He was the first to get a $25,000 check on the first list of 16. He said, I didn't believe it. The next thing that they said was we were meant to get 40 acres and a mule. I was going to keep the acres and give away the mule. Well, what actually happened? He was able to give the money to his eldest son, Michael, who's 61, to allow him to reduce the mortgage on his apartment. And later, Michael also got a $25,000 payment of his own, and he was able to pay off his mortgage. Ramona Burton, her mother, went to Chicago to give birth to her because the Evanston Hospital was segregated. She's the youngest of 6, parents from North and South Carolina. She used money to fix her roof, had 8 new windows put in, her chimney fixed, a partial fence, and central air conditioning. Many cities, California, have considered the reparations, and I think that you guys should too, when you're considering building this giant new capital project and jail. And they said that Asheville is in the former slaveholding state of North Carolina, but didn't itself have a plantation. But we
Please note your time has expired.
Harriet Tubman did. Thank you.
Max Jones.
When he turns around, look at.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My name is Max Jones, and I'm a lifelong resident of Murrells Inlet. While I agree the current tree ordinance is not sufficient, I have a few points of concern with the proposed new ordinance. I'm all for saving live oaks. I think they're a beautiful part of our landscape. I think the ordinance should be specific to live oaks, not including water and laurel. If water and laurel oaks are included, just about every remaining piece of property would be undevelopable without a variance from ZBA. Allowing water and laurel oaks to be removed will save more live oaks, which I think warrant the highest level of protection, which leads me to my next area of concern. When a grand tree is in the footprint of a proposed building and there are no ways to work around it, will the property owner be given a variance? The variance should apply blindly if the situation meets the 4 criteria. I'm concerned they will not. I hope there will be some language added to protect property owners' rights. While this is obviously never the end goal, a property owner should not be penalized for developing their property. Thank you.
Chris Spiner.
Hi, I'm Chris Spigner, and I'm here as a concerned citizen today about the ticketing of commercial boats from our 25 county boat landings. The current ordinance reads, prohibits loading or unloading cargo or passengers for hire or compensation and the sale of goods at the boat landings. Well, the Georgetown County Sheriff's Department is currently ticketing commercial boats, which if handled by the book will prevent the following businesses from utilizing our boat landings: our tour boats, fishing charters and guides, commercial crabbers, commercial oyster collectors, boat dealers using the landings for test drives, and the list goes on. I am very concerned and enraged by Councilman Bob Anderson's statement in the Coastal Observer, and I'm going to read that. Council member Bob Anderson said he heard from a fishing guide who is concerned about the crackdown. Guides are taking out 1 or 2 people. That's not a problem, he said. We've gone forever with this ordinance, and it's never been a problem. He plans to meet with Weaver and the county attorney next week, but doesn't foresee changes. It's not broken, and we don't need to fix it, he said. Really, Councilman Anderson? It's not broken, and we don't need to fix it? This ordinance is now being enforced and is forcing our small businesses to temporarily close while a solution is found. This affects so many with loss of income, unemployment for many, and most importantly, the loss of tourism revenue that these businesses bring into our county. I've been told the council is working on this issue, but it is not going to be a quick fix. While this issue is being permanently resolved, I'm not legal savvy, but I am requesting some sort of temporary order or injunction be put in place to allow our small businesses to continue to operate. Maybe these businesses can sign a waiver of liability to the county and be able to show proof of liability insurance. But there has got to be something that can be done quickly. Thank you so much for the time today.
That was our final speaker.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And thank you all for your comments. We move on down to the consent agenda. Excuse me. There are 4 matters on the consent agenda which were previously approved by virtue of the agenda approval process. Those were contract number 23-012, contract number 20-038, procurement number 23-042, and procurement number 23-046. We'll move down to our public hearings. We have a public hearing regarding ordinance number 23-26, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 24 operating budget of Georgetown County. The floor is now open for public comments regarding ordinance number 23-26. Is there anyone desiring to speak regarding ordinance number 23-26? Seeing none, the floor is now closed. We'll move down to resolutions and proclamations. Proclamation number 23-23 to proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2023 as Constitution Week in Georgetown County. Mr. Ackers.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, thank you so much. On September 17th, 1787, the United States Constitution was signed to establish and enshrine a foundation of justice, equality, dignity, and fairness. As the cornerstone of the world's oldest constitutional democracy, it reflects the values we cherish as a people and the ideals we strive for in a society. The U.S. Constitution stands as a testament to the tenacity of Americans throughout history to maintain their liberties and freedoms and to ensure those rights to every American. The President of the United States of America signs a proclamation each year designated Constitution Week in order to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787. On a local level, Proclamation number 23-23 is proposed in recognition and acknowledgement of National Constitution Week and proclaims September 17 through 23, 2023 as Constitution Week in Georgetown County. This effort is aimed at the following: emphasizing citizens' responsibilities for protecting and defending the Constitution, informing people that the Constitution is the basis for Americans' great heritage and foundation, and encouraging the study of historical events which led to the framing of the Constitution in September 1787. Mr. Chairman, would you like me to read the full proclamation?
I think you summarized it relatively well. Thank you, Ms. Akers.
Thank you. Staff is recommending adoption of this proclamation.
Thank you. You've heard the proclamation summary presented by Ms. Akers, and it's within our manual also. Is there a motion to adopt proclamation number 23-23?
I move for adoption.
Okay, a move by Councilor Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mercado. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We move down to resolution number 23-24 to support submission of an application to the South Carolina Department of Transportation seeking fiscal year 22 mass transit funding. Ms. Langston.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, County Council. I'm going to do a poly and ask that we talk about Resolution 2324 and 2325 together. They're both the same thing. These resolutions are a requirement of the South Carolina Department of Transportation, the State Mass Transit Funding Grant. This grant reimburses the county up to $80,000 for the cost of the Sandy Island ferry trips. That's an annual, this is the 23 and the 24 grant. It's a 2-year grant that we're getting this approval for, but we need the resolution to be able to move forward with the grant application. So we just ask that you approve these 2 resolutions.
Thank you, Ms. Langston. Any questions for Ms. Langston from council? Hearing none, let's go with resolution number 23-24. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 23-24?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilor Elliott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Newman. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We're going down to resolution number 23-25. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 23-25?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Elliott. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We move down to resolution number 23-26. Okay, Madam Administrator.
Good evening. Before you is a request for preliminary approval for a fee in lieu of agreement for Project Hooper. This particular project, basically, we are projecting 48 jobs and $32 million of investment. This will allow us to move forward in our process as we continue to negotiate for this project. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Madam Administrator. Any questions for Madam Administrator regarding resolution number 23-26? Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt resolution number 23-26?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Elliott. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on down to third reading of ordinances. Ms. Richardson, ordinance number 23-23.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We do have a request from the applicant to withdraw this item. So we would recommend tabling for this ordinance.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Is there a motion to table ordinance number 23-23?
So moved.
It's moved by Councilor Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mercado. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Ordinance number 23-23 is tabled. We'll move over to ordinance number 23-25. Ms. Richardson.
Yes, sir. This is an ordinance to adopt the 2023 economic development element of the Georgetown County Comprehensive Plan. We have not had any changes to the element or the ordinance since second reading approval. We are excited to bring you another completed element in the comp plan to go along with the cultural resources, the housing element, and the transportation element. The Planning Commission, as a reminder, recommended unanimously approval for this document. And there was no one to speak at the public hearing at their Planning Commission meeting. I also wanted to take the time to thank the Economic Development Department for their assistance with this document. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Any questions for Ms. Richardson regarding ordinance number 23-25? Seeing none, is there a motion, hearing none, is there a motion regarding ordinance number 23-25?
So moved.
It's moved by Councilor Elliott for adoption. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mercado. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We move down to second reading of ordinances. Ordinance number 23-24. Ms. Richardson.
Yes, sir. This is the changes to the tree ordinance that we discussed previously at our workshop at length. As a reminder, the main emphasis here is the increase in the fee from $500 per tree to $500 per DBH inch measured at the diameter breast height of tree that is removed, and the addition of a new penalty that would involve withholding of development permits on the property for a period of 2 years. Again, as we stated during the workshop, the goal here is deterrence. We have seen, as you heard tonight, that the $500 per tree fine has not been a worthy deterrent. We have had several trees cut down with the idea that they will just pay the fine. So staff feels that the increase in fee is necessary and will improve the situation of having trees unlawfully removed without a permit. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on the changes on June 15th. We had 6 people speak in favor of the change, and they voted 6-0 to recommend approval for the changes and ask council to make further improvements as they see fit. To that end, I did want to quickly hit some of the items that we spoke about earlier at the workshop that I will need to work on addressing and amending the ordinance between now and the next meeting. We discussed an exemption, allowing an exemption for grand trees on industrial property. We discussed making changes to the rural overlay protected tree list, either in type or size or a combination of both. We discussed the addition of the longleaf pine trees to the urban overlay district as a protected tree. And we talked about the clear cutting for subdivisions and potentially looking at a buffer or ways to prevent that in both sections of the county. One last thing, we did also talk about the need for a pending ordinance doctrine and that it wasn't a requirement, but it might be a good idea just to provide some clarification so that we can enforce the proposed ordinance as it's prepared in the meantime until final approval. I'll be glad to answer any more questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. You've heard the report from Ms. Richardson, and you've listened to some of the requested changes, which is being requested by council. Are there any questions for Ms. Richardson, or is there a motion regarding ordinance number 23-24?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we defer this based on all the issues that Ms. Holly just brought up.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilor Anderson to defer ordinance number 23-24 action. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Okay. Please let the record reflect we have 6-1. Ms. Mercado opposed. Now, again, we've had the work session earlier regarding this particular ordinance. And Director Richardson mentioned that the possibility of the pending ordinance can be invoked at this particular time. Is there a motion regarding invoking the pending ordinance regarding ordinance number 23-24?
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
It's moved by Councilor McCarter to invoke the pending ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Elliott.
Motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move down to the second reading of ordinance number 23-26, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 24 operating budget of Georgetown County. Ms. Langston.
Good evening again. This is a budget amendment to appropriate the funds that we've received and expect to receive from the state for the port for its purchase as well as repairs and development at the port location. We ask that you approve this appropriation so we can move forward with that.
Okay. You've heard the report from Ms. Langston. Any questions from council?
What was the total, Ms. Langston?
We're anticipating getting 3.4 million. We have gotten the 2.4. We have to give 2.4 back to the Ports Authority. So that'll happen once we get this the appropriation approved. But so we'll keep $1 million of that, and then we'll get another $1 million is like what we're going to have net at the end of the.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. You've heard the report. It's there. A motion for adoption of ordinance number 23-26.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved by Councilor Newton. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilor Anderson. Any discussion? Since this ordinance was presented last time for first reading, is there a motion to amend ordinance number 23-26 to incorporate the text as ordinance was introduced by title only previously?
So moved.
It's moved by Councilor Johnson. Is there a second on the amendment?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mercado. Any discussion? That we'll first move to vote on the amendment. All in favor of the amended ordinance, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we go back and vote on the amended motion, which will be the main motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Langston. Well, you're still here. Okay. We'll go down to ordinance number 23-27.
This ordinance is required to allow us to issue the bonds for the new detention center. Our bond attorney will be here for third reading to answer any specific questions you may have, but they have been here and presented information, both our attorney and our financial advisor on this issue. But otherwise, I'll try to answer any questions you might have. Otherwise, we are asking that you give second reading approval to ordinance number 23-27.
Thank you, Ms. Langston. Any questions for Ms. Langston?
I had one question. The numbers will remain the same.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion regarding ordinance number 23-27?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved by Councilman Newton for adoption of ordinance number 23-27. Is there a second?
Also moved.
Second by Councilor Anderson. Is there a motion to amend ordinance number 23-27 to incorporate the text?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Elliott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Newton. We'll now vote on any discussion. We'll now vote on the amended motion. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we vote on the main motion with the amendment. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We'll move down to first reading of ordinances. The first one is ordinance number 23-28 to rezone approximately 4.47 acres located off Old River Road and Gladiator Lane in Murrells Inlet, identified as TMS number 41-0202-008-00-00 and 41-0202-008-02-00 from 1/2 acre residential to forest agricultural. Ordinance number 23-29, to rezone one parcel totaling .59 acres is located at 5039 Wesley Road in Murrells Inlet, identified as tax map number 41-0179-068-00-00, from 1/2 acre residential to residential R10. Ordinance number 23-30, an amendment to Article 6 requirements by district, Section 611, general commercial, and Article 21 designated overlay zones to provide additional requirements for developing a self-storage facility or mini warehouses within the Waccamaw Neck Commercial Corridor Overlay Zone. Okay. We move on down to our approval of minutes. We first need a motion for, a motion regarding our regular council meeting on July 11, 2023. Is there a motion regarding those particular minutes?
Moved.
Is moved for adoption of the minutes for July 11, 2023. Is there a second? It's moved by Councilor Elliott, I'm sorry. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mercado. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes of July 11, 2023 is adopted. We also have recommendation for adoption of our minutes of July 25th, 2023. Is there a motion regarding those particular motions?
So moved.
It's moved for adoption by Councilor Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Elliott. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Any further business to come before council? If not, may we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's moved by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Elliott. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries. We stand adjourned.